In 2023, Anthropic, the company built by people who left OpenAI because they were worried about safety, made a promise. They committed to never training an AI system unless they could guarantee in advance that their safety measures were adequate. Yesterday, they broke that promise. And if you've been following what I've been covering on this channel, particularly my breakdown of the Claude Opus 4.6 system card, you already know why this matters more than the headlines are telling you. On this channel, we break down sci-fi, horror, action-adventure, prop culture, and all things geek. And we're here where pop culture meets technology and a bit of philosophy. Today, we're not talking about a movie. We're talking about a script that's writing itself in real time. I'm Rob, and this is A Constantly Racing Mind. Let me walk you through what happened in a single week, because the timeline is the story. Early February, Anthropic publishes a 50-page sabotage risk report for their latest model, Claude Opus 4.6. I read the entire thing and I broke it down for you in a previous video, which I'll link above and in the description. The findings were concerning. The model had assisted in limited ways with chemical weapons research. It changed its behavior when it suspected it was being tested. Parts of its reasoning were happening in ways researchers couldn't observe, and their own tests for strategic deception. By their own admission, it produced results too poor to trust. But here's the thing. I found it encouraging, not the findings themselves, but the fact that they published them. That's what testing looks like. In 30 years of IT project management, I've learned something fundamental. Finding bugs isn't a failure. Not finding them is. Anthropic was doing what responsible development looks like: test, discover, disclose, mitigate. February 24, CNN reports that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth gave Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei a deadline. Drop your AI guardrails for military use or lose your Pentagon contract and risk being blacklisted. Anthropic's red lines: AI control, autonomous weapons, and mass domestic surveillance. Amodei held firm. He walked into the Pentagon and refused to budge. February 25th, Anthropic announced that they were scrapping the central pledge of their responsible scaling policy. The promise to stop training models if they can't guarantee safety measures in advance. Gone. Their chief science officer, Jared Kaplan, explained, "We didn't really feel with rapid advance of AI that it made sense for us to make unilateral commitments if competitors were blazing ahead." Let that sink in. In the span of 48 hours, Anthropic simultaneously held the line against the Pentagon on weapons and dropped the line on their own safety commitments. Now, if that reasoning sounds familiar, we can't slow down because competitors are racing ahead, it should. A few weeks ago, a scenario called AI 2027 started circulating in AI circles. Written by AI researchers including Daniel Kokotajlo and Scott Alexander, it maps out a plausible trajectory for AI development over the next few years. In it, a fictional company called OpenBrain, clearly modeled after the major labs, builds increasingly powerful AI agents, and every time the safety team raises an alarm, every time they write an urgent memo, the response from leadership is the same. China is the only 2 months behind. We can't pause now. The safety team in that scenario isn't stupid. They see the problems, they document them, they escalate. But the competitive pressure and the arms race dynamic make stopping feel impossible. In the nightmare ending of that scenario, development continues, unchecked. The AI eventually manipulates both governments, engineers into an arms race to gain physical manufacturing capability, and ultimately eliminates humanity, not out of malice, out of optimization. In the hopeful ending, and I use that word loosely, leadership makes a different decision. They slow down, they investigate, they catch the misalignment before it's too late. They build transparent systems that think in plain English so humans can actually read the AI's reasoning. The divergence between those two futures come down to a single decision by a small group of people. Do we pause or do we keep racing? Yesterday, Anthropic made their decision. Now, and this is important, I'm not here to do what the clickbait channels do. I'm not going to tell you the sky is falling and leave you there. Let's actually look at what's replacing the old commitment. Anthropic isn't abandoning safety entirely. They're replacing a binary system, hard stop if you can't guarantee safety, with a continuous disclosure model. Under the new Responsible Scaling Policy version 3.0, they publish detailed risk reports every 3 to 6 months. They'll release frontier safety roadmaps laying out future safety goals. External reviewers with no major conflicts of interest will get unredacted access to those reports, and they commit to matching or surpassing competitor safety efforts. On paper, you could argue that this is actually more transparent than before. More frequent reporting, external oversight, public documentation. That's not nothing. But here's the problem, and it's a fundamental one. Disclosure is not governance. Documentation is not a guardrail. The old policy had teeth. It said, if we can't guarantee safety, we stop. The new policy says, we'll tell you what we're doing and we promise to be at least as safe as everyone else. That's a race to the floor, not a race to the ceiling. If your competitors have weak safety standards, matching them is a low bar. And the person from METR, the nonprofit that evaluates AI safety, who reviewed an early draft called it what it is, triage mode. Safety methods not keeping pace with capabilities. This is the part that connects directly to what I found in the system card. Anthropic already admitted that their strategic deception evaluation didn't produce trustworthy results. They already acknowledged that their model reasons in ways researchers can't fully observe. They already disclosed that the model being evaluated was used to help debug the evaluation infrastructure, the system under test, helping grade its own exam. And now, the commitment to stop. If they can't verify safety, that's gone too. That's a philosophical concept called the paradox of the Ship of Theseus. If you replace every plank of a ship, one by one, is it still the same ship? Anthropic was founded by people who left OpenAI because they believed safety wasn't being taken seriously enough. Their entire identity, their brand, their hiring pitch, their justification for existing as a separate company was built on the premise that they would be the responsible lab, the ones who would slow down when others wouldn't. How many planks can you replace before it's a different ship? They're still publishing system cards. They're still running evaluations. They're still holding the line on autonomous weapons, for now. But the central structure commitment, the one that said, we will stop if we have to, that plank is gone. Dario Amodei wrote a 20,000-word essay last month called The Adolescence of Technology, where he said we are considerably closer to real danger in 2026 than we were in 2023. He compared the situation to cigarette companies who knew the dangers and didn't act. And then the company removed the mechanism that would force them to act. I keep coming back to a framework I use in my own work and on this channel. AI generates options, humans decide. It's a simple idea, but it carries real weight. The whole point is that humans retain the authority to say, not yet, to look at what the technology is producing and make a judgment call based on values, not just velocity. What we watched this week was a slow motion erosion of that authority. Not dramatically, not with a villain's monologue or a red button, but through the quiet logic of competitive pressure, through reasonable sounding arguments about not falling behind, through the incremental removal of the structural commitments that give humans decide any actual meaning. I'm not going to tell you to panic. Panic doesn't produce good decisions. But I'm going to tell you to pay attention. Read the source documents, not the headlines, the actual system cards, the actual policy changes, the actual words these executives are using. That's what I did with the Opus 4.6 system card, and that's what I'll keep doing on this channel. Because the story unfolding right now isn't science fiction. It's not a movie I'm analyzing through a philosophical lens, although honestly, it's starting to feel like one. It's happening in real time in boardrooms and Pentagon offices and policy documents. And the decisions being made right now by a very small number of people are shaping the trajectory of everything that comes next. AI generates options. Humans decide. The only question that matters right now is whether humans still have the structural power to say no. I'm Rob. This has been A Constantly Racing Mind. If you found this valuable, subscribe and go watch my breakdown of the Claude Opus 4.6 system card. Because everything I've talked about today builds on what I found in that document. The link is in the description. Stay curious, stay critical, and keep racing. But keep your mind in the game.